This video is very kindly sponsored by Nvidia and eBuyer.com with the new ASUS TUF 15 gaming laptop. Stay tuned and I'll tell you more about it later in the video. Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and this is the new LG 38WN95C. And I reckon for me at least, it could well be the perfect monitor, although it does look exactly like my old monitor. In fact, I've been using its predecessor, the 38WK95C, for the best part of 2 years now. And in that time, I've tested a whole bunch of different monitors, but I've always come back to it. So now I have this one, which I first got hands-on with back at CES in January, and now I've got it set up in my home office, and it ticks all the boxes for what I want. But as you would expect, it's not cheap. So for about £1,300 or so, you can get this giant 38-inch curved ultra-wide monitor. Now, it is big, but you quickly get used to it, and even going back to a regular 34-inch ultra-wide now feels a little confined for me. Then we have the Quad HD Plus resolution. That's 3840 by 1600, so you can't quite watch 4K content back natively, but it's close and it is still reasonably sharp given the size. We also get what LG call a nano IPS panel, which covers 100% sRGB, 90% Adobe RGB, and an impressive 95% DCI-P3. It also supports VESA Display HDR 600, so while it normally peaks at 450 nits of brightness, with HDR content though, I measured a peak brightness of 622 nits. And we also now get a Thunderbolt 3 port, which is ideal if you're hooking up a MacBook or a laptop with a TB3 port, as it will carry the video output, data transfers, and up to 90-watt charging, all with the same cable. And that's along with 2 HDMI 2 ports, a DisplayPort 1.4, a couple of USB 3s, power and headphone ports. But aside from the slightly higher HDR 600 and also the addition of the Thunderbolt 3 port, the big upgrades this year with the WN95C are actually mostly for gamers. We now get a 144Hz refresh rate, 1 millisecond response time, and Nvidia G-Sync compatibility. Now, I think it's fair to say a lot of professionals out there probably couldn't give a monkeys about, gaming stuff and G-Sync and 144Hz, and that's fair, but actually, even if you're not planning to do any gaming on this, just general desktop use, scrubbing through the timeline or, anything you do feels a lot smoother and more responsive thanks to that higher refresh rate. It's not just for gamers. And I'm sure you'll agree, if you have a high refresh rate monitor at home, going back to 60Hz is hard. But as a YouTube creator, person, thing, whatever it is you call what I do, who actually also mostly works from home, I actually appreciate having those gaming features because after a long day of scripting, researching, and staring at Premiere Pro all day long, I actually quite like to kick back with a couple of games of Warzone. And while I must admit I'm still pretty terrible, 144Hz is a big help for those quick reactions and trying to get those headshots. Plus we get G-Sync, and while it's only the basic compatible version as opposed to G-Sync Premium or Ultimate, which are a little bit better optimized, it still does a good job of reducing screen tearing and input lag, which again is really useful for gamers. What makes a great gaming laptop? For me, it's something that has great specs and offers good value for money. So that's where the new ASUS TUF A15 comes in. I mean, we're getting an RTX 2060, Ryzen 7 4800H, 144Hz screen, massive 90Wh battery, and it doesn't cost a fortune. I'm averaging 80 FPS in Call of Duty playing Warzone, and 105 FPS on average in Death Stranding with DLSS 2 enabled thanks to the RTX graphics card. Ray tracing, DLSS AI upscaling, a faster encoder. Having an RTX graphics card makes a huge difference. The best bit though, if you buy an ASUS laptop with an RTX graphics card right now, you get a free copy of Death Stranding. So check out the link in the description for more on the ASUS TUF A15, as well as eBuyer's full range of ASUS laptops. But if you are trying to get those Ws in Warzone though, or play any game really, then you can just press the little joystick underneath, go to game mode, and then put it in FPS or RTS mode. And this basically puts it into game mode with the fastest response time, overdrive, it brightens everything to help you see the bad guys, although you can still adjust all that in the picture profile settings. So I really love the fact that I can just jump between my DCI-P3 or sRGB color profiles, which I use when editing, straight into FPS and I'm good to go for gaming. Since it is such a big monitor though, you might actually want to use PBP or picture by picture mode, which splits the screen in half and means you can output from two different sources at the same time. But let's talk about the design of this thing. And we have a matte white plastic back, a pretty substantial metal base, although the exterior of the stand does feel a little bit plasticky. We also get almost flush bezels around 3 edges, with a slightly thicker plastic chin, which feels a little bit less premium than the rest. But overall, I think you'll agree it's a pretty stylish and also professional looking monitor. It doesn't scream gamer, there's no fancy RGBs or sharp angles, so you could easily use this at the office. I'm also really impressed by the speakers in this thing. It's not something you usually write home about with, monitor reviews. So let's go for a little movie trailer just to demonstrate a bit of Bill and Ted.
Listen to wild stallions.
It looks terrible, but I actually can't wait for this.
Here's a real idea for you. Be role models.
Not bad at all from a monitor. Going back to the design, and we get a good amount of height adjustment, as well as tilt and rotation, so it's pretty flexible actually. I do have a couple of minor issues though. The first one is really not a big deal at all, but as you can see, you can rotate it by about, 3 or 4, maybe 5 degrees. It's not much, and maybe it's helpful if your desk is a bit slanted, but then I wish it had a kind of pivot lock so that I knew when it was back to normal, or I'm sure there's a better word for that, straight again. And my other gripe, as you can see as I'm playing with this, is there's quite a bit of screen wobble. Even just a little tap, the whole thing moves around a fair bit, and while it does securely fasten to the stand, I've got no complaints there. Well, it doesn't feel like a £1,300 monitor in that regard. And finally, I've seen on Reddit a couple of posts about QA issues with this monitor. Now, I've not had any problems myself, no dead or stuck pixels or anything. There's only a very minimal amount of light bleed and IPS glow. It's barely noticeable, so that nano IPS panel is doing a good job. But one other thing I've seen mentioned is at the top left and right corners, you can see the slightly curved bezel exposes what's behind it, which is a glossy silvery material, which almost makes it look like there's a screen protector on or something you can peel off. It's only just noticeable though, and it really isn't a big deal in my opinion. So overall, I think this is as close as I'm going to get to a perfect monitor anytime soon. It is very expensive though, and it may simply be too big for some of you guys, but if you are looking for a large, color accurate, and super fast monitor for work and for play, honestly, this is an easy recommendation for me. But what would be your perfect monitor? Would it be this, or maybe a 300Hz super high refresh display, or maybe a 4K monitor? Once the next gen graphics cards come out, 4K 120 gaming with next gen ports may actually be something we can consider. Or maybe even a TV. For example, LG's new 48-inch OLED, the C10. Maybe a 48-inch TV wouldn't be the end of the world. I'm not sure if I could get away with it on my desk, so for now I think this is this is everything I need. But hopefully you found this review helpful. If you've got any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Cheers for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time right here on the Tech Chat.